As we just posted on social media, this will be streamed on our website and posted on YouTube as soon as they can get through there. So it's live on Shaw right now. And I also want everybody online as well as here, Happy New Year. The first meeting of 2025. And I first want to humbly acknowledge the land which you live, learn, work, and play is Treaty 8 territory, traditional lands of the Cree and Dene, and unceded territory of the Métis people. And for the record, we have Councillor Ball, Councillor McGrath, Councillor Granison, as well as Councillor Boussier joining us online this evening. If anyone in attendance wishes to address council on any of the items on the agenda, please see the Legislative Services desk to my right.
Oh, there we go. Now I can hear.
Perfect. Please see Legislative Services desk to my right, and please register before the start of that agenda item. And just a reminder, when you do present, you have 5 minutes to present, remain on topic, and remain seated for questions after. Before I adopt the agenda, does anyone wish to serve a notice of motion? Councillor Dogar?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Shafiq Dogar served notice of my intent to bring forward the following motion for council consideration and next discussed on February 2025. That administration be directed to install lights displays for Canada Day, and that the municipality encourage residents to beautify and use light displays for Canada Day to commemorate our country. The reason why I'm bringing this is during Christmas.
Okay. Speak to the motion at the next meeting.
My reasons I'll give next. Thank you.
Thanks. And Councillor Dover, can you speak to what date you want to return on? You had said February, but what date did you want to return on?
The 17, I am coming back after the 17, whichever is the date.
So February 25th?
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Okay. Before I make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented, Councillor Boussier has requested that agenda item 8.4 is motion related to the CEO bylaw review be removed for tonight's agenda and be deferred to January 28th, 2025. Also, Councillor McGrath has requested item 8.2 and 8.3 be also deferred to February 25th. Can I have some make the, sorry, Councillor Benjoko, did you want to add something as well?
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. I would like to speak to item 8.5, and I would start by acknowledging and appreciating Mayor Sandy Bowman. It was my honor to join him on December 12, 2024 for the proclamation that was made. RMWB, like many others, recognized December as Christian Heritage Month. I brought the motion forward to ensure continuity, that this proclamation will be made annually, and that December will continue to be recognized as Christian Heritage Month in our region. I have checked and benchmarked, and I have seen that most municipalities did it this way by proclaiming the month of December. And I have also confirmed that this would continue in our region. I therefore see no reason to go forward with any motion. So thank you so much for that proclamation of Christian Heritage Month. Thank you, Mayor Bowman.
Thank you, Councillor Benjoko. Can I make the motion to amend the agenda?
Excuse me, sir.
Councillor Dogar.
I just want to have 1 or 2 minutes to acknowledge Knights of Columbus, their event on Christmas Day. If you permit me to speak.
It's not on the agenda.
Okay, that's my fault.
Thanks. Does someone make a motion to amend the agenda? Councillor Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move the agenda be amended by removing item 8.2, 8.3, 8.4, and 8.5, and that the agenda be adopted as amended.
Thank you, Councillor Weigel. Someone second that motion?
I second that.
Has anybody seconded it already? Thanks for a second, Councillor Ball. Now I'll call for a vote.
In favor.
Check her. Thanks, Councillor McGrath, Councillor Boussier, Councillor Grandison, and Councillor Ball in favor. Thank you. That's carried. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to the consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove any items from the consent agenda? Can someone make that motion? Councillor Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the recommendations contained in items 6.1, 6.2, 6.3, and 6.4 be approved.
Thank you, Councillor Weigel. And thanks for a second, Councillor Ball. Now I'll call for a vote.
In favor.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath, Councillor Grandison, Councillor Boussier, and Councillor Ball. That's carried now, everyone. Okay, Councillor Dogar, what would you like to say? Yeah, just want to turn your mic on. Go ahead, Councillor Dogar.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for giving me the chance. On Christmas Day, 25th of December, I had the honor as a deputy mayor to go to the church, close to the church, and to acknowledge there was lunch for about 500 people. They have catered it. And it was an excellent gathering of the working class. I didn't see any of the prominent people who were rich and who were must be enjoying here and there. But these people were of the working class, and excellent arrangements done by the management. I must feel, and I'll recommend it in writing also, to give them some help. I will request Director Berge to do it. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, Councillor Dogar. Next up, we have the application Provincial Historic Resources. I'd like to invite Deanne Berge, Community Services, to introduce the report, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Deanne Berge. I'm the Director of Community Services. With me is Janelle Fleury, Manager of Community Partnerships and Initiatives. We are presenting a request to submit a Provincial Historic Resource application for Fort of the Forks. Our presentation will cover the background and historical significance of the site, the benefits of receiving a Provincial Historic Resource designation, and the process required to secure the designation.
The Fort of the Forks site is a cultural landscape located on municipal land along the north bank of the Clearwater River across from McDonald Island. The nearby confluence of the Clearwater and Athabasca rivers was crucial for the early fur trade, which is why it was chosen as the location for possibly three early fur trade forts constructed in this area, each built on top of the other. The first was McLeod House, built around 1787 by Alexander McLeod for the Northwest Company. The Fort of the Forks followed and operated until the 1840s. Then in 1870, the Hudson's Bay Company built the original Fort McMurray settlement at this site. The site is over 230 years old and is one of the oldest known locations and littlest known from the settler colonial period in Alberta. In the late 1970s, Alberta Culture conducted a comprehensive historical resources impact assessment on this area. The project included survey and test excavations. The final report concluded that the site represents a historical resource of considerable value. The remains are important to the early history, circa 1780 to 1800 of Alberta, and more particularly in regard to the early fur trade. They recommended that the site receive designation as a provincial historic resource.
The site's exact location is difficult to pinpoint due to a lack of visible remains and dense vegetation. it is still considered an area of great historical significance. The site has been affected by fires, floods, and regrowth over the years. Today, erosion along the slope toward the Clearwater River poses a growing concern. Historic designation is vital for the protection of important sites. Once designated, the key features of the site are legally protected from alteration. There are 3 levels of designation: municipal, provincial, and federal. For a site to receive provincial designation, it must be significant to the province's history, as is the case with the Fort of the Forks. Historic designation is voluntary, which is why the municipality, as the property owner, would have to apply for it. The designation would protect the site and display why it's important. This allows for a chance to teach visitors and locals about the area's history and its part in the broader historical context. As well, once designated, there is funding available for preservation and education. It could attract tourists and help build a strong community identity. Fort of the Forks has a complex history. The site has up to 3 fur trading posts. It was important for trade and settlement. However, it also reflects the impact of colonialism on Indigenous peoples, disrupting their culture and way of life. Historic designation does not mean we celebrate this history. It means we acknowledge it. This designation will help us share the complete story, including how colonization affected Indigenous culture and their traditional way of life. At over 230 years old, Fort of the Forks is one of Alberta's oldest colonial settler sites.
Once the application is submitted, the municipality doesn't need to take any further action. Administration has contacted the Provincial Designation Program to discuss possible designation for Fort of the Forks. After submitting the application, the province will evaluate the site's significance and integrity, which will take at least 1 year and involve community engagement. If the criteria are met, the application will move to the Assistant Deputy Minister for approval, followed by community notification. If approved, the local MLA will be informed. Then a notice will be sent to the property owner, the municipality, and published in the Alberta Gazette. If no one objects within 60 days, they will create a designation order. After the minister approves this order, it will be sent to the municipality and announced, and a plaque will be given to the site.
By applying for provincial historic designation, this significant site will be protected for future generations. This is an opportunity for us to safeguard the legacy of Fort of the Forks and to learn from our shared history. The recommendation is that the RMWB's application for provincial historic resource designation at the Fort of the Forks site be endorsed, and that administration be directed to complete and submit the application. That concludes our presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any questions from council? Councillor Cardinal.
Thanks, Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. I didn't look back to see where the location was.
Through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, we can put that slide back up again. Through the chair to Councillor Cardinal, what I will say is the circle is quite large, and that was at the direction of the province.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Cardinal. Do you have any questions from council? I have just one question. I see where it's located, and it's on the opposite side of the river. So putting a plaque there and talking about tourism, if I'm not mistaken, there's no way to get there in the summertime.
So through the chair to the chair, great question. So our intention would be to have a plaque on the McDonald Island side so people could walk along and see. It would point and give all the information on the plaque that's on the McDonald Island side.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, because I thought if I get that far in a kayak, I'm on the way to Fort Chip. Okay, thank you. Do you have any questions from council?
I do.
Go ahead, Councillor Cardinal.
Who requested this?
So through the chair to Councillor Cardinal. So the Heritage Resource Management Plan came forward, I believe it was last year. And in that, we identified some areas that could be historic resources. So there was a member of the community that was quite passionate about having this designated. And I believe he may be on the line as a delegate.
Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Cardinal. Any other questions from council? I'm not seeing any. Thanks, Janelle. Thanks, Deanna. And as a delegate, I believe, do we have Mr. Jean online?
Yes, good evening,
Hi, Mr. Jean.
Mayor and Council.
Good to see you. I guess good to hear you. I can't see you, but
I'm sorry I wasn't there in person, but I could not. But I wanted to call in and give my support to this group to go forward with this project.
thanks. If you could just state your name for the record, Mr. Jean, and just you have 5 minutes to present. Just remain online for some questions, please.
Blair Jean. I'm an author historian. I've lived in the Fort McMurray area for many years. I'm now living in St. Albert, and I do have a great interest in this particular site. When the archaeologists came to Fort McMurray in 1970, I joined them and took them to the site in question. And then they came back in 1979 and excavated the site. And this trading post is on the north side of the Clearwater River. The other two Hudson's Bay Company posts were at the bridge approach going across the Athabasca River. Those have all been buried years ago, 1960s. But the Fort of the Fork site is on the north side of the Clearwater River. And the good thing about it, Peter Pond and his men put it up on top of a bench, a lime rock bench, where the ice cannot reach it, at least not in normal flood conditions. That site is very good for the public to climb the slope of lime rock and to get to the site, winter or summer. So they certainly would have to go there by boat in the summer. And by winter time, they could walk across or go by snowmobile. But the site is not eroding from the constant 238 years of ice flow because the lime rock is protecting the site, and it's up high enough that it's out of the flood waters. It's a very stable bank for public viewing if they were to put a cairn or an interpretive signage there. I just wanted to state my support. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Jean. And thank you for all the posts you put on social media about all your exploits and everything you've discovered about this region. It's educational for everybody. Does everybody have any questions for Mr. Jean? I'm not seeing any, sir, so thank you for everything you do.
Thank you.
Thanks. Can I have someone make the motion? Councillor Weigel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that the Regional Municipality of Wood Buffalo's application for provincial historic resource designation at the Fort of Fork site be endorsed and that administration be directed to complete and submit the application.
Thank you, Councillor Weigel, and thank you for the second, Councillor Ball. Any other questions, comments, or debate points from council? Not seeing any, so I'll call for a vote.
In favor.
Thank you. I have in favor Councillor Grandison, Councillor Ball, and Councillor Boussier, and Councillor McGrath. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. The next item on the agenda is item 8.1, which is Mayor Bowman's motion regarding the municipality's procurement process and impacts to local contracts. Mayor Bowman, could you please read out your motion?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Bajoko. I move that administration bring forward an update to council on the municipality's procurement policy and processes, including social and indigenous procurement, as well as information on percentage of funds invested by the municipality on local business and local indigenous businesses.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Can I have someone second the motion? Okay, thank you, Councillor Weigel. Okay, thank you. Mayor Bowman, you may now speak to your motion.
Thank you. Just in a nutshell, I guess, I mean, if we could give 100% of our business to local businesses, local contractors, we would. But we are tied to some trade agreements that don't allow us to do that. So I think as being stewards of municipality funds as well as being responsible to the residents, we need to bring forward just to know what these percentages are. So I believe when we started about 50% local, 50% not local. So I'd like to see what comes forward out of some information to show where we're at now, if that's going up. And I mean, if we're at 50, 55, can we push it to 60? Can we push to 65? And what we need to do to get there.
Okay. Thank you, Mayor Bowman, for bringing forward this motion, and I totally agree. This is very important motion to be brought forward. It's a lot of businesses are struggling or hurting in our region, and I think a lot of people will be watching out to know how we're going to go with this motion. So thank you so much for bringing this forward. Any questions from my colleagues? Oh, delegates. Do we have any delegates online anywhere, somewhere?
We have no registered delegates, Deputy Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Brown. Now, my colleagues, I see Councillor Doga. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam, for providing me the chance to speak. My point of view is that the policies are given to regularize the things for improvements, to get the things at the comparative cheaper rates, and there's no pilferages, nothing of a negative thing. So, Mr. Mayor, what did you feel that what was wrong with the present policy, and what are the things you are adding to that?
My motion has nothing to do with the policy or adds anything to it. What it's asking for is what are the percentages that it is going local.
Hiring local, is a little bit changed. That's why the motion is presented.
No, the motion.
So what are the faults you felt?
I didn't find any faults. What I'm saying is I want to know what the local spend is, what the percentages are.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Doga. Any other comments from council colleagues? No? Okay. Before I call on Mayor Bowman for closing comments, since there are no comments, it's my intention to support this motion. I believe we have to be intentional as to how we support our local businesses. I know we have trade agreements that are limiting what we can do, but unless we become intentional and actively seek ways that we can support our local businesses, it's not looking too good out there. So this is a step in the right direction in my mind, and I will be supporting the motion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And do you have any? Okay, I think there are some other comments. Councillor Cardinal.
Thanks, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, thank you.
be supporting the motion. I acknowledge that we do need to start localizing a lot of our procurement policies and finding a path forward to making sure that our community grows, we expand, we support one another, we collaborate, and make sure that a lot of the funds and our people continue to stay localized. And yeah, so good motion, Mayor. I'll be supporting it, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Cardinal. Okay, so Mayor Bowman for closing remarks.
Sure. Thanks, Deputy Mayor Banjuko. Yeah, again, as I said when I opened, I just feel like we need to know where we're at and percentage-wise. I know we try to push for local spend on everything we do, but as Councilor Banjuko mentioned, we are restricted by trade agreements with the province, with the country. But just knowing where we're at, and if we were at 50% when we started this term, to see where we're at now coming to the end, if that's increased, decreased, and where it's at. So I'd like to see that brought forward so council can see where we're at in that factor.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Seeing that there are no more questions. Oh, there's questions. Okay. Comments from Councillor McGrath. Thank you.
Thank you, through the chair. It's a great motion, and I would, I guess what I would try to extract out of that information would be that we did get favorable trade agreements that would signify and notify the local contractors. So we worked to no end to get that resolved, which it was. And also the Indigenous spend was also approved by, but we just, as we track the spend, I just want to know how close we were to following our policy that we created the last 4 to 5 years. Certainly on that same subject.
Thank you, Councillor McGrath. Okay, maybe I should ask this final question about how do you want this to be one-off report, or is it going to be periodic so that we keep monitoring? What's the plan?
My intention of the motion is to bring it forward so we can see it, and then we can decide where we go from there. Okay. And as Councillor McGrath alluded, I believe it was at the AMA, he put forward a motion to change the Western Trade Agreement, to change those percentages, and it was passed at the AMA for them to advocate for it. So I think the next step for us as council is to bring it back and see where that endorsement is going.
Thank you, Mayor Bowman. Councillor McGrath, you have more questions or comments?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I just slowed to put my hand down. Sorry about that.
Okay. Thank you. Seems as if we are ready, so I'll call for a vote. Since there are no further questions.
In favor.
So please, by show of hands? Okay. So we can show, okay, if you are in favor, all in favor? Okay. Opposed? Opposed? Councillor Doga, you need to vote. Favor? Okay, thank you. And I think that was carried unanimously. Thank you all. And Mayor Bowman, you may resume your chair.
So thank you, everyone. That concludes this public portion of tonight's meeting. Council will now move into closed session for items 10.1, 10.2, and 10.3 as well. So we'll take a brief recess right now to clear the gallery. So thanks, everyone.